Talk to me about winning your IFBB pro card. You've had obviously a very decorated fitness career. I think you were a pro natural bodybuilder early on in your
NABA. So I competed naturally in the NPC up until I was 27. Then I got blood work back that said my testosterone sucked. It was like 70. So it's so bad, my general practitioner put me on test. Like, that's how bad it was. For those of you who've ever dealt with doctors, GPs do not like putting you on test. But he's like, dude, if we don't put you on this, like, you're going to risk problems. So anyway, yeah, I competed. I never competed in a natural show because to me, again, like, I'm a guy who, I always felt that, and again, I helped start the, ANBF. I love natural bodybuilding, but I always felt like it was lower and I never wanted to compete it was like playing arena football when you could play in the NFL. And with bodybuilding, you don't have to make the team. You just have to pay $50. So I'm like, I want to go against the drug guys. So at 27, I started TRT. And in 2013, I got my NABA pro card. NABA at the time was crushing it internationally. It was a competing professional organization, IFBB. And I was doing that show as a warm-up show for nationals, and I ended up winning it. And then they're like, well, you have to give up your NABA pro card to compete in this. And I'm like, I just won it. And so then I retired for 7 years and boxed.
Yeah. And then after boxing, you made a comeback into the IFBB. And I remember when you won that, like, I mean, you made a joke about moving to tears when you shared the story of Coach Miles. I don't know if you moved to tears when you won the IFBB pro card, but I remember you talking about how it was one of the most proudest moments of your life. And I don't want to put those words into your mouth, so correct me if that's wrong there. What did winning the IFBB pro card mean to you at over 40 years old, having accomplished all the things you have in business, career, family, all these other things? Like, very few guys make that comeback when they have the calendar of things that they're doing on a daily basis that you were.
I think I actually tweeted it today. When I won, there were two texts that I saw first. One was from Jay Cutler. Shout out to Jay Cutler. He was the first one to text me. I don't even think he knows that, but he texted me like the minute. I mean, it was like if you look at the timestamp. But the other was my family sent a video of them celebrating. I just posted on Twitter today, X. I tweeted it, and every time I watch that video, I cry because it's one of those things where I always tell my kids that if you work hard, it might not happen tomorrow, but you're going to win the war. And also, if you've ever been on the internet, it's an extremely toxic place. A lot of people say a lot of mean things about me. I still don't know why. It's probably because I'm opinionated and I do have some lagging body parts. I mean, people like, your arms are small. I'm like, I have a mirror. I do. I can see. Trust me, I'm harder on myself than anybody is on me. So what you're saying to me, I already see it. So for me, number one, it validated my message to the kids, to my kids, to the kids we coach. And it was that, hey, if you work hard enough, good things will happen. It might not happen tomorrow, but keep working hard. And it just, because I keep telling my kids, I'm like, hey, winning is everything. Like, you have to work to win. Winning is life. You have to win in life. So it validated that message. Because I've been saying it, it's like, well, what have you won lately? And number two is that it really, for some reason, and I'm not going to lie, it was a big fuck you to everybody on the internet who said I couldn't do it. And I got to be real. Like, my life is 100% driven by revenge. Like, a lot of people don't know, when I got fired from I got fired from that Sylvester Stallone company by a guy named John Arnold. And he fired me because he said that he basically, his reason for firing me, he said, well, the account seemed to like you, but I don't like you. And he didn't think I was good enough to do what I was doing. I would put money on it that I'm more successful than he's ever been. So every day I wake up, I might not think of it directly, but I have John Arnold right here in my brain. Right here. Vince Andrich was the consultant for the company, and he didn't do anything wrong. He just didn't have my back. And for me, loyalty is everything. Like, I've had so many situations where I've lost money. Because I am loyal to my friends. I am loyal to my partners. And Vince just showed that he's a self-serving coward. So, and there's just, and everybody online is way, way, way distant. But in business, whenever I feel like I can't accomplish something, I think about the people in the past who said I couldn't do something, people in the past who did me wrong. Vince, I hold no grudge against, none. Vince has a family. He needed a paycheck. I understand. 99% of I wouldn't have done it. I don't think, but I've never been put in that position, right? I've never been put in his position. It's always good to say you'd do something. It's always easy to say that until you're confronted with not getting paid and having a mortgage and having kids. Now, John Arnold is just a piece of shit. And I have ragged this guy for the last 2004. It's been 20 years of shitting on this guy. And I will continue to shit on him even after he dies or I die. I will shit on him from the grave. Like, this guy was just not a good person. But I thank him, because if John Arnold wouldn't have fired me, I wouldn't be where I am today. John Arnold, while I don't like the guy, he gave me the greatest gift in that he gave me, I'm basically like a woman's scorn. I had a mission, right? I had to prove him wrong. And all my life, whether it's a teacher who said I wouldn't amount to anything, whether it's a coach who said I wasn't good enough, whether it's a troll online who said I'll never get an IFBB pro card, man, I love that shit. It's fuel. Like, it really drives me. And I just, that's the only way you could, what else are you going to do? Like, you either let it bounce off you. I don't think anybody can let it bounce off them. I don't think it's possible. You're going to hear it. You're going to see it. It's going to affect you in some way. You either use this fuel or it impacts you in a negative way. For me, when I see that negativity, when I see that hatred, when I see that lack of belief, that just makes me fight even harder to prove them wrong.
I haven't heard you talk a lot about your upbringing. You mentioned it earlier on in the conversation today, though, that I think mom was a drug addict and dad had some health issues, ended up with diabetes. What, if any, role did home life play in kind of fueling some of this revenge component? Or how did your childhood and kind of growing up with an addict mother kind of shape who you are today?
I should be dead right now. Like, the situations I put myself in as a youth, I should be dead right now. And again, like, my mom is a great person at heart. Like, she's a woman who, she fought in the Israeli Defense Force. She immigrated here at 14 years old, went back and fought for Israel. Again, I'm going to piss off a bunch of pro-Palestine people. My bad. Everyone's like, no, Israel sucks. I'm like, okay, I'm not there. I'm in America. So my mom's a great person. She's a hard worker, first generation American, did a lot of things. She owned a business. She owned a cookie store. So I look at things differently. Like, my mom she got addicted to drugs because, have you guys, I know a lot of people watching this, they've been to war. There's a lot of guys watching this who probably went to Afghanistan. You've seen some shit. And so not only that, you have the impact of this traumatic stress you went through, seeing people die, killing people, right? Because in Israel, like, they kill a lot of people and they get a lot of friends killed. It's been a war zone, guys, since biblical times. Like, this isn't new. Okay. So you have that. She had tremendous back injury from car accidents and just working through it. So, I mean, this is a woman who's had I think she's up to over 50 back surgeries. Like, she is in pain. So she's a victim of drug addiction. And, you know, it's one of those things where it is what it is. You know, and my dad would travel, or at the end of my high school tenure, he was having a lot of strokes and, you know, really, he lost his vision. He lost his hearing. So, you know, I was alone. Like, I raised myself from pretty much, I'd say, the age of probably 12 on. Like, I had to figure out like, I can't imagine my 16-year-old fending for himself. I was doing it at 12. My 16-year-old just figured out how to use a microwave. I'm just playing. So yeah, so you had to figure things out. And at 16 years old, you know, number one is Coach Miles came along slightly before then. So I was starting to get out of that situation. And at 16, hold on. So at 16, you know, I was, my wife asked me on a date, and that's when I turned it around. And at the end of that, I got off the street life and I had a reason to live, and it was football and my wife. That was it. I had training and had my wife. That was it. So I was fortunate. And so every day I'm driven to not be broke. I don't want to mess up. I don't, like, up until, like, my dad got sick and my mom had her problems. Like my life was pretty awesome. Like we owned a cookie store in Simi Valley, California called the Gookie Cookie Company. Like life was good. And then it seems like overnight it just fell apart. And so every day I'm so afraid of failing that I keep working harder and harder to not fail.